Most humans spend a third of their lives horizontal, yet we somehow felt the need to strap a tiny, glowing polygraph to our wrists just to confirm we're doing it wrong.
Please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Check the description for trusted sponsors and ways to support the show.
Welcome back to the lab, everyone. I'm Vince, and I woke up this morning to a notification telling me that my recovery was in the red because I apparently spent half the night wrestling an invisible alligator, or at least that is what my watch thinks because my heart rate spiked at 3 a.m. It is a strange world we live in, Hayes, where we don't trust our own eyes or our energy levels until a piece of silicone and glass gives us a percentage score.
It really is the ultimate form of high-tech gaslighting, Vince. I'm Hayes, and I spent my entire morning trying to figure out why my tracker thinks I was wide awake for 45 minutes when I distinctly remember a very long, very detailed dream about organizing a library for cats. But that is the fundamental mystery of these wearables. Most people think there is a microscopic neurologist living inside their watch, but in reality, these devices are just very sophisticated eavesdroppers listening to your pulse and watching you wiggle through the night.
That is the perfect way to put it. If we are going to understand the data, we have to understand the hardware. Most of these devices rely on two primary sensors: an accelerometer and a photoplethysmogram, what a mouthful that was, or PPG sensor. The accelerometer is basically a motion detector. If you are moving, the device assumes you are awake. If you are still, it assumes you are asleep. But as anyone who has ever stared at the ceiling for 2 hours worrying about a mortgage knows, being physically still and being asleep are two very different states.
Exactly, and that is where the wakefulness detection problem comes in. Research actually shows that most consumer wearables are only about 20 to 50% accurate at detecting when you are actually awake if you are just lying still in bed. This is why you might wake up feeling like a zombie, but your app gives you a gold star for sleep efficiency. It thinks you were sleeping because your arm didn't move, even if your brain was running a marathon of anxiety.
And that is where the PPG sensor tries to fill the gaps. That is the little green or red light you see flashing against your skin. It is measuring blood volume changes in your microvascular tissue. Every time your heart beats, a pulse of blood travels to your wrist or finger, and that light reflects back to a photodiode. By tracking the microscopic timing between those beats, what we call the interbeat interval, the device can estimate your heart rate and your heart rate variability, or HRV.
These sensors are the basis for how the device guesses your sleep stage. Since we aren't at home wearing a full polysomnography rig with electrodes glued to our scalps to measure actual brainwaves, the watch has to reverse engineer our brain states based on our pulse and our movement. It is impressive technology, but it's still an estimation. We are essentially using the heart as a proxy for the brain.
It's like trying to guess what movie is playing in a theater by standing outside and listening to the vibrations on the wall. You can tell if it's an action movie or a quiet drama, but you might miss the subtle plot twists. And sleep architecture is full of plot twists. We have these 90 to 110-minute cycles that play out like a battle for brain domination throughout the night.
I love that metaphor. It really is a battle. You start the night with a heavy focus on non-REM sleep, specifically stage 3, or what the cool kids call deep sleep. I like to think of deep sleep as the physical repair shop of the body. This is when your heart rate and breathing are at their absolute lowest. Your body is busy releasing growth hormones, repairing tissues, and reinforcing your immune system. If you don't get enough of this, you wake up feeling physically heavy and drained, even if you were in bed for 9 hours.
And then you have the middle child of sleep, stage 2, which actually accounts for about 50% of your total night. This is where your brain produces these rapid bursts of electrical activity called sleep spindles. Researchers think this is like a librarian sorting and shelving books at the end of a busy day. It is crucial for memory consolidation and organizing everything you learned during the afternoon.
But the real celebrity stage everyone tracks is REM, or rapid eye movement sleep. This is the mental and emotional librarian. During REM, your brain activity actually looks almost identical to when you are wide awake. Your eyes are darting around, but your body goes into a state of temporary paralysis so you don't actually act out those dreams about artisanal cheese or flying naked over your high school.
The interesting thing about the protocol of sleep is that your brain prioritizes these stages differently as the night goes on. Deep sleep is front-loaded. Your brain wants to get that physical repair done early. REM sleep, however, is back-loaded. The cycles get longer and more frequent in the second half of the night. So, if you cut your sleep short by 2 hours to hit the gym, you aren't just losing 25% of your sleep. You might be losing 60 or 70% of your total REM for the night.
That is a massive physiological cost. You might look great in the gym, but your emotional regulation and creativity are going to be in the basement. It is all fun and games until your wearable tells you that you spent 4 hours in REM and you didn't dream about anything at all. But even with the inaccuracies, the real value of these devices is not in the nightly sleep score. It is in the trends.
If you are looking at your data and feeling more stressed than rested, you might be suffering from orthosomnia. This is a real term researchers use to describe the obsessive pursuit of perfect sleep data. People get so worried about their tracker telling them they slept poorly that the anxiety itself keeps them awake. It is the ultimate irony, losing sleep because you are worried about your sleep score. This creates a cycle of stress that keeps your nervous system in a fight-or-flight state, which then lowers your HRV, which then lowers your score, and the spiral continues.
If you are tired of playing this digital guessing game and want a clear path to actually improving those numbers, we have a solution. Many people monitor their data but have no idea how to change the outcome. That is why we created the Sleep Optimization Protocol ebook. It is a comprehensive guide designed to address the specific problem of high data anxiety and low quality rest. This protocol identifies the environmental hidden killers of deep sleep and provides a step-by-step evening routine to lower your resting heart rate and stabilize your circadian rhythm. It is researched and focused on actionable science rather than just empty metrics. Click the link in the description to download your free copy. We are confident this will shift your readiness score from red to green, and it's free, so there is no risk to give it a try. Now let's get back to why that late night snack is secretly sabotaging your heart rate variability.
The food timing thing is such a huge part of the protocol that people ignore. There is a physiological reason why we suggest eating your last meal at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. When you eat a big, heavy meal late at night, your core body temperature stays elevated because of the thermic effect of food. Your internal oven is running at full blast to digest that steak.
But for your brain to initiate deep sleep, your core body temperature actually needs to drop by about 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. If you are still digesting, your body stays too warm and you stay stuck in the lighter stages of sleep. You might see this on your tracker as an elevated heart rate that doesn't dip until 4 a.m. Ideally, you want to see a U-shaped curve where your heart rate drops quickly after you fall asleep.
And we have to talk about the booze to blues pipeline. Alcohol is the great deceiver of the sleep world. Because it is a sedative, it helps you fall asleep faster, decreasing your sleep latency. But as the alcohol is metabolized, it becomes a stimulant. It increases your nocturnal resting heart rate by an average of 3 beats per minute, even with moderate intake.
It also absolutely eviscerates your REM sleep. Alcohol suppresses REM in the first half of the night, leading to what we call REM rebound in the second half. This is why you might have those incredibly vivid, weird dreams, or wake up covered in sweat at 3 a.m. Your brain is trying to catch up on all that missed mental maintenance. Your tracker will show this as high fragmentation and a plummeting HRV.
HRV, or heart rate variability, is really the metric that tells the story of your autonomic nervous system. It measures the variation in time between each consecutive heartbeat. You actually want your heart to be a little bit irregular at rest. It sounds counterintuitive, but high variability means your nervous system is balanced and can pivot between the rest and digest parasympathetic branch and the fight or flight sympathetic branch.
The math for this is usually calculated using something called RMSSD, which stands for the root mean square of successive differences between heartbeats.
A high RMSSD generally correlates with a well-recovered resilient system. When you see your HRV drop, your body is telling you it is under stress, whether that's from a hard workout, a coming illness, or that late-night double espresso.
And speaking of caffeine, the wearable data shows us that it isn't just about whether you can fall asleep after a coffee. Caffeine might not significantly change your total sleep duration, but it often degrades the subjective quality and can reduce the pressure for slow wave sleep. Even if the watch says you slept 8 hours, if those hours were under the influence of caffeine, the depth of that repair shop visit was much shallower.
The 2025 guidelines from the World Sleep Society suggest that we should treat these trackers as behavioral feedback tools rather than clinical diagnostic instruments. They want us to focus on the long-term trends rather than the nightly fluctuations. If you have one bad night because your neighbor's dog decided to howl at the moon, ignore the score. But if your 14-day rolling average for sleep duration is dropping, that is a signal to change your behavior.
This is where the protocol comes in. The first rule is to establish your personal baseline. You cannot compare your HRV to an elite athlete or even to your spouse. HRV is as unique as a fingerprint and is influenced by genetics, age, and even your menstrual cycle. You need at least 3 weeks of consistent wear to know what normal looks like for you.
Once you have that baseline, you watch for the red flags. A spike in your resting heart rate of 3 to 5 beats per minute above your average is often an early warning sign. It can mean you are getting sick before you even feel a scratchy throat. Wearables are actually quite good at predicting illness by spotting these subtle physiological shifts.
We also have to be careful about the social jet lag trap. This is when you keep a strict schedule during the week, but stay up late and sleep in on the weekends. This is essentially like flying from New York to London and back every single weekend. Your body's master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, gets completely confused. Your heart rate and temperature rhythms never stabilize, and your tracker will show this as a massive dip in recovery every Monday morning.
Consistency is the most powerful hack for your sleep data. Going to bed and waking up within the same 30-minute window every day, even on Saturdays, aligns your circadian rhythm. This makes it easier for your body to drop its temperature and heart rate on cue, leading to more green readiness scores.
And we can't forget the light. Exposure to blue wavelength light from our phones and tablets suppresses melatonin production. Research shows that using an LED tablet in the evening can delay melatonin onset by an average of 1.5 hours compared to reading a physical book. This not only makes it harder to fall asleep, but can alter the distribution of your sleep stages for the entire night.
The protocol for this is simple but effective. Dim the lights 2 hours before bed and try to switch to amber-tined light or physical books. You are essentially trying to signal to your brain that the sun has gone down. If you don't give your brain that signal, it stays in alert mode, and your sleep latency, the time it takes to fall asleep, will stay stubbornly high.
So Vince, if we had to give the listeners a cheat sheet for their wearable data, what would it be?
I would say, first, trust your body more than the app. If you feel great but the app says you had a bad night, go with your gut. Second, use the data to identify your own personal sleep killers. Does that 7 p.m. workout make your heart rate stay high all night? If so, move it to the morning. Third, focus on the 7-day trend of your resting heart rate and HRV. That is the true pulse of your recovery.
And finally, remember that the goal isn't to get a 100% sleep score. The goal is to wake up feeling capable of handling your life. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your sleep is to take the tracker off for a weekend and just listen to your own internal rhythm.
I think my watch just gave me a notification that I've been talking too long. My stress level is apparently rising.
Well, that is our cue to wrap it up and go get some natural sunlight to set our circadian clocks. Thanks for tuning in to the Wellness Lab Digest. If this episode inspired you, here are 3 quick ways to support the show. 1. Subscribe so you never miss fresh body-loving wellness insights. 2. Share this episode with someone who needs it today. 3. Comment below and tell us what topics you'd love to hear next. Want to do even more? Check the description for ways to support the show. Stay curious, stay well, and we'll see you in the next episode.